love is a universal language, isn't it? We all crave it, write songs about it, compose poems, but what happens when love just isn't enough? Well, today we are going to do a deep dive into 2 chapters, The Gift of Love and The Crack in the Facade, from a book called When Love Is Not Enough. And, oh my goodness, this story will make you think about the complexities of relationships.
It really does. It takes us deep into those complicated real-life situations where love alone doesn't solve everything.
Yeah.
And they use Amara's story to illustrate this point so beautifully.
Amara sounds amazing.
She is.
A successful businesswoman. Owns a salon with 50 employees.
Yeah.
Not only that, she treats her employees like family.
Yeah.
Provides lunch for everyone every day. Who wouldn't want to work for someone who served up jollof rice every day?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It really shows her generous spirit, and you see that so much in that first chapter. The gift of love.
Right.
She's pouring her heart and soul into everything she does. Not just her employees, but also her husband, Ekin, who's an engineer working on a very high-pressure contract.
Okay, so she's a superwoman.
Right.
Successful career, amazing boss, devoted wife. But this chapter makes me wonder, is there such a thing as loving too much?
Oh.
Can Amara's abundance of giving actually be putting a strain on her marriage?
It's such an interesting question, and you know, it really does make us think about the different ways that people express and receive love.
Right.
And her love language seems to be acts of service. She's constantly doing things for other people. But what about Ekin? Does he receive love the same way? Is there some sort of mismatch in their love languages that could be causing tension underneath?
That's a great point, and it's something I think we often overlook in relationships.
Yeah.
We just kind of assume that our way of loving is the same for everybody.
Exactly.
But the book hints that Ekin is more reserved, but maybe even taking Amara's love for granted.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some signs that someone might be taking their partner for granted?
I think sometimes it's a very gradual shift, you know, a slow erosion of appreciation, and maybe they stop noticing the little things that you do, or they're less responsive to your needs, and it could even manifest as a sense of entitlement.
Right.
Like they expect your love and support without feeling the need to give back.
And I imagine they can be incredibly hurtful, right, for the person who's constantly giving.
Absolutely. It creates this imbalance in the relationship. One person is pouring from their cup constantly. The other person's cup is full, and they don't even seem to notice.
Right.
And this can lead to resentment, exhaustion, and even loneliness, even in a relationship where there's supposedly a lot of love.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
And it seems like Amara might be reaching that point of depletion. While she's busy showering everyone with love and attention, a tiny crack starts to appear in the foundation of her own marriage. And that crack widens in the next chapter, The Crack in the Facade. And this is where things take a pretty dramatic turn.
They do. This is where that seemingly perfect picture of Amara's marriage begins to crumble.
Okay.
And it all starts with a very shocking revelation involving Amara's best friend, Neoma.
Okay. I have to know what happens.
Well, it turns out that Ekin Amara's seemingly devoted husband is the father of Neoma's baby.
Wow. Talk about a betrayal of trust on like every level. Not only has he been unfaithful, but it's with her best friend. I can't even imagine what was going through Amara's mind at that moment.
It's devastating, to say the least. I mean, the personal pain is immense, not to mention the shattered trust in both her husband and her best friend.
Right. I mean, did she see any signs of this betrayal, or was he just really good at hiding his double life?
That we can only speculate about.
Right.
But this situation really highlights the fact that even the most loving relationships can be vulnerable to betrayal and hidden truths.
Yeah.
Some people go to great lengths to maintain a certain image, even if it means sacrificing honesty and integrity.
So the crack in the facade takes on a whole new meaning.
It does.
It's not just a crack in her marriage, it's a crack in the perception of who she is and what her life represents.
Exactly. And this is where the book kind of invites us to consider, you know, the masks we wear in relationships and how we reconcile that picture-perfect version of love with the messy, you know, often painful realities.
Because, let's be honest, who hasn't experienced some level of a disappointment or disillusionment in a relationship? Maybe not as dramatic as Amara's situation, but those moments where the facade crumbles and you're just left wondering, what just happened?
We all have those moments where we question everything we thought we knew about love and relationships, and Amara's story just amplifies those universal experiences
Yeah.
and forces us to confront those complexities head on.
And it makes me wonder, in a community as tightly knit as hers, how does she cope with this public humiliation on top of everything else?
That's a layer of pain that adds to the already very heavy burden of betrayal. You know, the judgment, the whispers, the questioning glances.
Yeah.
It's enough to make anyone want to retreat from the world entirely.
Oh, man. It's heartbreaking to think about what she's going through.
It is.
It makes you question, is this really the end of her story? Or can she find a way to pick up the pieces and rebuild her life?
That's the question that lingers as you finish this chapter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does Amara's experience make us cynical about love, or can we find a glimmer of hope?
I'm hoping for a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see, you know, how she moves forward from such a devastating betrayal.
It's definitely challenging, but I think it's important to remember that Amara's story isn't over, you know?
Yeah.
This experience, as painful as it is, could actually be a catalyst for growth and transformation.
Okay, I like that perspective.
Yeah.
So how can we shift from viewing this as like the tragic ending of her love story
Right.
to the beginning of something new?
Well, the book doesn't explicitly tell us what happens next for Amara, but I think that's where you, the listener, come in. Imagine yourself in Amara's shoes.
Okay.
What would you do? How would you navigate this incredibly painful situation?
That's a tough question to grapple with, but it really makes you think about, you know, the choices that we have,
Yeah.
even in the face of heartbreak. Do we let the betrayal define us,
Right.
or do we use it as fuel to redefine ourselves?
Absolutely, and I think this is where that concept of self-love becomes so important.
Right.
Did Amara, in her boundless giving, lose sight of her own needs and boundaries?
You're so right. It's like she was so focused on pouring love into others that she neglected her own well-being. Maybe if she had stronger boundaries, she wouldn't have been so blindsided by this betrayal.
That's a really important point. Self-love is not selfish.
Right.
It's essential for healthier relationships. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing your own worth and setting limits on what you're willing to accept from other people.
So in a way, Amara's experience could be like a wake-up call. It's a painful lesson. But maybe it's the push she needs to prioritize herself and her own happiness.
Absolutely, and that's where the real transformation can begin. It's about moving from that place of self-sacrifice to a place of self-respect and empowerment.
So what are some practical steps that someone in Amara's situation could take
Sure.
to start building that self-love and setting those boundaries?
Well, I think it starts with acknowledging the hurt and allowing yourself to grieve the loss of the relationship, however imperfect it might have been.
Right.
It's about giving yourself permission to feel the anger, the sadness, the betrayal.
Yeah, because bottling those emotions up is never a good strategy.
No.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater.
Right.
It's going to pop up eventually.
Exactly. You have to let those emotions flow through you. And then you can start to focus on rebuilding your life brick by brick.
Yeah.
Maybe that involves therapy, spending time with supportive friends and family,
Right.
or rediscovering hobbies and passions that bring you joy.
It's like finding those pieces of yourself
Yeah.
that might have gotten lost or neglected along the way. Reclaiming your identity, remembering who you are outside of the relationship.
Precisely. And as you start to rebuild your life, you can begin to set those healthy boundaries, learning to say no when you need to,
Yeah.
prioritizing your own needs and desires, and surrounding yourself with people who respect and value you.
It's like creating a new foundation for your life.
Yes.
One that's built on self-worth and authenticity.
And from that strong foundation, you can start to attract the kind of love that is reciprocal, nourishing, and ultimately fulfilling.
Right.
The kind of love that doesn't drain your cup, but rather fills it up.
So maybe Amara's story isn't about love not being enough. Maybe it's about discovering that self-love is the foundation for every other kind of love.
That's such a powerful insight.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that you are worthy of love, not because of what you give to others, but simply because you exist.
And that's a message I think we all need to hear, whether we've experienced betrayal or not.
We do.
It's a reminder to prioritize our own well-being and never lose sight of our own worth.
Wow. It's amazing how Amara's story, even with all the twists and turns,
Right.
it ultimately leads us back to ourselves. It's a reminder that sometimes the toughest challenges can be the greatest opportunities for growth.
Absolutely. And it speaks to the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
You know, even when we're faced with heartbreak and betrayal, we have this incredible capacity to heal, to learn and to emerge even stronger on the other side.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but I think it's more than just strength.
It is.
It's about wisdom, self-awareness, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters in life.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about using those painful experiences to refine our values, to clarify our priorities, and to make choices that align with our authentic selves.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the gift of love and the crack in the facade, I'm left with this sense of cautious optimism. Love might not always be easy, but the ability to love and be loved is a powerful force.
Yeah.
It certainly is. And while Amara's journey highlights the potential pitfalls of love,
Right.
it also underscores its transformative power. It's a reminder that even when love is tested, it can still be a catalyst for profound personal growth.
So as we finish up, what are some key takeaways that you hope our listeners will glean from Amara's story?
Well, I think it's crucial to remember that love is a two-way street.
Right.
It requires effort, honesty, and a willingness to be both a giver and a receiver.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that our own well-being is just as important as the well-being of those we love. Setting healthy boundaries and prioritizing self-care are not selfish acts.
Right.
They're essential for creating and sustaining healthy relationships.
And perhaps most importantly, it's about embracing our own worthiness of love.
Yes.
Not because of what we do or what we give, but simply because we are.
Beautifully said. That's the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built.
Yeah.
When we love and respect ourselves, we create space for others to love and respect us as well.
To our listeners, as you reflect on Amara's story and the insights we've shared today, remember this. Love in all its messy glory is a journey of self-discovery. Embrace the lessons, both the joyful and the painful, and never stop believing in the transformative power of love.
And never underestimate the strength and resilience within you. Even when love throws you a curveball, you have the power to rise above those challenges and create a life that is filled with love, meaning, and authenticity